Well, new characters, a new team, and a new Oliver brings us back to the old era we missed. Hey guys, remember the season premiere of Arrow, Season 5, Episode 1, Legacy, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. You guys know I'm one of the few people that actually didn't hate on last season. I thought last season was genuinely great at times. Was it a perfect season? Hell no. But when it was great, in my opinion, it really was great. Was there a little too much Oliver Felicity stuff? Yes, there was. But really, I think the problem with last season is that they really lacked the focus. I think that's really what happened. There was too much that happened last season. There was too many casualties, and people, I've said before, people don't like to watch a season where just depressing shit happens, and that's really what last season was. Things really did go down last season. I mean, Laurel died. You had a villain that wanted to blow up the entire, world. You had, Oliver and Felicity broke up. I mean, a lot of shit happened last year. Diggle's brother died. A lot of things happened, and, well, actually, Diggle killed Andy, but a lot of things happened, and that's something that going into this premiere, I was a little bit worried about. I really didn't know if the show was going to be able to come back from what it did, because while I was fine with it, I didn't really know how the show was going to go on without what we thought it was, but I gotta say, overall, I was really impressed with this premiere. Now, was this a perfect premiere? No, I don't think this was a perfect premiere. I think there definitely were some very minimal, not huge problems, but minimal problems. But overall, I really did enjoy this episode. I think it was a very good start to the season, and I really do think that they are, in fact, trying to get back to the old Arrow. But let's just get into this episode because I really did enjoy it overall. We start off and we see Mayor Oliver, because Oliver's now the mayor. He's late and the police department aren't happy about it. Thea is playing interference with an irate police captain and she doesn't know where he is. And I like that Thea is kind of Oliver's campaign manager right now because that horrible character of Alex is gone. That character was so bland and so boring. So I'm glad that he's gone, and Oliver's fighting bad guys in Chinatown, and right away we can see this is a much more hardened, tougher Oliver. This is not the Oliver that just, isn't afraid of killing. It's not the Oliver that does things through negotiating. This is an Oliver that is very hardened and very violent, and he sees a large device that has a number of small bombs strapped to it. Lonnie Machin is the perpetrator, and while Oliver takes him out, a man in a hockey mask tries to disarm the bomb. Felicity's already doing it remotely, though, and Oliver tosses the man aside, telling him to stay off the streets. Oliver then shoots him in the knee, and I think it was a great way to start off, just really showing that Oliver is back to that hardened vigilante, and that's something that this episode really did show, is that the Oliver Queen in this episode is not the Oliver Queen we've seen for the past 2 seasons. For the past 2 seasons, ever since, Slade, and ever since what happened with Moira, he's made a commitment to not killing. But as we know, he had to kill Dark. I mean, there was no way that he was going to let Dark get away with what he was going to do. He had to kill him. So he did, in fact, kill Dark, and now that he's killed Dark, I wouldn't say he's kind of gotten a little bit confident. You definitely do see that he's gotten confident, and by getting confident, he feels that he needs to kill. And I think that's something that showed very well in this episode, how much he has gone back to the old Oliver. And I really do like seeing that, because Arrow, I think, works best when you have a hardened vigilante. You don't soften him up like they did. I think it's better this way. So at the police department gala, Oliver shows up at the last minute, offends the police by telling reporters that they're looking into allegations of police corruption, and Thea tells Oliver that he needs to get his act together. She knows what he's doing. Obviously, they're depending on him to be the mayor, and he's not even showing up. So already they're having problems because he said that he'd be the mayor, and he's not. And you can tell this is already kind of a problem for him. So in the flashbacks, Oliver is, and let me get to the flashbacks here, because you guys know I did not give a fuck about what was going on in the flashbacks last year. I found them vastly uninteresting. I found them to be a major step down from what they were doing, and I really just could not figure out where they were going with it. This season, however, this I like. I mean, not only did they say that this is going to be the last season of flashbacks, which thank God, because they should have ended these a while ago, but we're finally starting to see things that connect to the show in general, because we see Oliver, he's in this underground fight club in Russia. A huge man starts to get the better of him until Oliver chokes him out. He breaks his neck and just straight up kills him, and again, we're reminded how when Oliver used to kill. And I think they did a good job of this season of actually connecting the flashbacks to what's going on, which is something last season completely avoided. I mean, last season did not want to connect the flashbacks at all. They were just kind of there, and I don't really know why, but this season actually acknowledges that, oh, these flashbacks actually have to connect to what's going on, and they kind of do. So rather than an organizer trade gives him money, Oliver says he wants intel on Cover instead. Somebody from the Bravada comes up, knocks him up with the cattle prod, and there's a lot of torture stuff in this episode. I thought they did it pretty well. Like I said, this is a much more violent season, you can already tell, and I really did like that. So back in the present, Felicity, who is right now the only original member of Team Arrow, still in Team Arrow. In fact, there really isn't a Team Arrow right now. She's been gathering intel on other vigilantes in town and wants Oliver to form a new Team Arrow, and he's very reluctant. And this is probably one of the strongest points of the episode. The fact that it's not that Oliver thinks that he can do it on his own. He has the mentality that Diggle and Thea will come back. They've been with him since the beginning. They, you know, stuck with him through thick and thin. They will come back. They just need some time off. They will come back. But Felicity's thinking of, you know, what if they don't come back? We have to be prepared if they don't. And she's not wrong. I mean, the Diggle and Thea we're seeing this season, again, they're not the same Diggle and Thea we've seen throughout the show. These characters have evolved, and that's something that the show acknowledges very well in the season, and I think they did very well in this episode. You know, Oliver wants to think that, oh, they're going to come back because they've been with me, and they're my two closest allies, but that does not mean that they're going to come back. And I thought that's something that the show showed very well in this episode. So we then see a group of corrupt police officers. They break into this drug den, and they fake a shootout between rival gangs so that they can steal the guns and the drugs. But another group of men comes in with heavier artillery, the leader of the group, and I thought the scene really was well done because, again, you can tell right away that we really are getting away from all of the, like, metahuman stuff and, you know, magicians, and now we're focusing more on street criminals because that's where the show is at its best. The problem with Arrow last year is that it tried to be like The Flash. It tried to be like other superhero shows, and it didn't remember what made it great. I think that really is the main problem with last season, that it didn't really feel like Arrow. It felt like this new, you know, more fun, trying to be too fun, and it worked in the first half, but in the second half, it really did not work as well, and I think it's something that showed very well in this first episode. They are, in fact, going back to street crime, and I think that's where the show is at its best. That's why shows like Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are killing it right now, because there's such small concepts. I mean, think about it. Daredevil is him trying to protect Hell's Kitchen and trying to, you know, make sure that he doesn't kill and that he doesn't go bad. Jessica Jones is her trying to move on from her past, and Luke Cage is him trying to defeat Harlem. Those are very small concepts, and there's not really a ton of other exposition stuff to deal with. Yes, there are other characters, but they all live within that world. And that's something that I think Arrow and The Flash sometimes has had a bit of a problem with last season. You know, they had to set up Legends of Tomorrow, and they had to take time out of the, you know, regular plot of the show to set up those episodes. But now that everything's established, now we really can, in fact, move forward, and I think it's something that the shows are willing to do, and I really did like seeing that here. So, the leader of the group beats the lead cop into unconsciousness, declares himself as the new boss, and we meet Tobias Church, the man who killed the dirty cop, who is played by Chad L. Coleman. Great to see him back on TV. I really did miss him. You guys know how much I love Tyrese as a character on The Walking Dead. He was one of my favorites, so great to see him back here. And I haven't seen him since then. He killed the dirty cop, who is a criminal who has spent time in Hub City and Bloodhaven, and with the dead cop out of commission, his new people, leaderless, a CSI suggests seeking out Lance, who's back in town, and here's the storyline that I was definitely reluctant about, because you guys know that after Laurel died, I really didn't know what role Lance was going to play on the show. Lance was always meant to be the father figure of the show. You know, he was very much a father figure / friend to Oliver. He, of course, you know, him and Laurel's relationship was one of the best parts of the show. I think they always handled that very well. And with Laurel dead, I didn't really know what role he was going to play here. So I honestly thought they were just going to write him off and that he wasn't going to be in the show anymore. But I do like the direction they're going with him this season. Now, do I think that he needs to be in every episode? No, because I just don't feel Lance plays as much of a substantial role. But I do like where they're headed with him, nevertheless. So he goes to visit Lance, and the best way to describe Lance is what we saw with Joe last night in The Flash, but in actual reality. Lance is very hardened. He is a drunk now. He's got like a full-on beard. He's badly hungover, and we find out very quickly that Donna left him and he made his way back, crawled into a bottle, and basically they stripped everything down with this character. I mean, he's pretty much lost everything, and he challenges Oliver on being an absentee mayor. Oliver suggests that Lance should come to work with Team Arrow when Diggle and Thea return, and again, Lance actually rejects him and elects to drink more. And it's not because of Oliver himself, and I think it's something that they showed very well in this episode. They didn't leave because of Oliver. They left for their own personal reasons. Lance because he just can't see someone else die, and he just can't be within Team Arrow because he knows, what that did to his daughter and how his daughter was in Team Arrow, and he just can't be a part of it. Diggle and Thea left because Thea wanted to be her own person, and Diggle, wanted to protect his family. So Oliver invites him to come to a ceremony honoring Laurel in hopes to get him over, Laurel's death and everything. And you can tell that he really has taken a hard time moving on from Laurel's death, which I thought was well done. I did like seeing overall. So in the flashbacks, Oliver is waking up, he's tied to a chair, and he's being lectured about killing the Speaker's best fighter. He has the book that Oliver's father gave him and is reading off names. Oliver insists the man replace the book, but the man wants to know what it means. Oliver tells him it was his father's, and he's waiting to use it, and the man tells him that will never happen. He puts a gun to Oliver's head. Again, really crazy stuff there, but at the lair, Oliver is ditched his security detail. Felicity again tells Oliver the Team Arrow isn't coming back and that he needs more help to take on Church. He just can't do it alone, but Oliver feels he has to, and his crew. Oliver isn't interested in a new team, but tells Felicity to track down Church. He's going to do this on his own. He's not going to let Felicity tell him what to do, and I like seeing that. I like seeing that he's not just going to, let Felicity tell him everything, because that was a big problem last season. I didn't dislike Felicity. You guys know, I actually really like Felicity as a character. In fact, I think she's one of the more fun parts of this show. She's meant to be the comic relief. The problem was last season, they gave her all this dramatic stuff and forgot that Felicity is supposed to be the comic relief. And she's back to being the comic relief this season. But I like her and Oliver as friends, because I think it just works a lot better than them in a relationship. 2 scenes ago, I would have said, oh yeah, I want these two in a relationship, but we clearly saw what that did to them last season. These two just can't be together. And what I mean is, they can be together by the end of the show, but they can't be together in the sense where they're together and we see them together. It just doesn't work as well, and I feel like them not being together already is a really good development for the show, and really is a big improvement. I do like seeing that. So I forgot how much I miss seeing Oliver and Felicity as just friends, because they work very well in this episode, and I like that there's not a lot of animosity between the two of them. Obviously, things are different because they dated and things like that, but the episode doesn't really hint, and I thought it was interesting the way they did that, but it didn't really feel as the episode was forgetting it happened. The episode is acknowledging the past, but it's moving forward, and that's a big part of this entire episode, is moving forward, going into a new direction, and I'm all for them going in that direction. So Oliver leaves, and Curtis comes in, who seems to be an official member of Team Arrow. Felicity convinced him to go check out an address she has for a wild dog, what they're calling the man in the hockey mask, and driving around. Now I was thinking, wait, that's Diggle's mask, actually, because that's what Diggle wore last year. But I guess they're not doing that. But driving around the back of the truck, Church tells his crew that to really be in charge of the city, they need to take down the biggest guy, and that, of course, is Green Arrow. They're gonna get Bates, and on the docks, Oliver unveils a statue for a black canary, but as the press descends on him, the ceremony is interrupted by a group of Church's men. I did like the scene with Oliver overall, where he's with, where he's talking about Laurel and the impact that she had and how they need to remember, Laurel and everything. I thought that was a good scene overall, but as the press descends on him, the ceremony is interrupted by a group of Church's men. They shoot up some cops, they kidnap Oliver, and that scene was crazy the way that was done. At the lair, Felicity wants Thea to suit up, but Thea wants her to look into other sources of intel to track a stolen SWAT truck, which was actually used to kidnap Oliver and others. And Oliver tells Church that he's wasting his time, the Green Arrow isn't coming back, and he tells Church that if he lets the other hostage go, he'll make sure that Green Arrow shows up. But Church rejects him. He's telling him that, look, you're no match for Green Arrow, and after Oliver insults Church, Church puts a bag over Oliver's head, punches him, then tells one of his men, a dirty cop, to bring Oliver someplace and teach him some manners. And Church really, you really do see how savage Church is. And again, the fact that he doesn't have powers, just his bare hands alone, that's what makes him scary. And that's what makes Arrow a good show. Arrow's not supposed to be a show about a bunch of superheroes. It's supposed to be a show about street crime and vigilantes, and the show really did get back to that. So in the flashbacks, we see Anatoly, who, if you remember, Anatoly was way back, I believe, in the first season. I didn't watch the first season, but I guess Anatoly was in the first season, and basically, he shows up just in time to prevent the Brat of a Men from killing Oliver. He orders the men to leave. He nearly takes Oliver's book with him until Oliver reminds him to drop it. Anatoly dislocates Oliver's thumbs to get him out of the bond, something he says Oliver can teach himself to do, and the two are happy to see one another, but Oliver tells Anatoly that he's actually here to kill Constantine, we find out. And I thought that was interesting that we found this out. I don't think we knew this, but yeah, he's actually there to kill Constantine, and we knew that Constantine was going to play a role in all this, but knowing that's why Oliver's here, I think is very interesting, and it already seems like this is very focused. Like, it really just seemed like they know what to do with this. Anatoly tells him that if that's the case, he did Oliver no favors by saving his life, and you know, if he's there to kill Constantine, then he's probably going to die anyway. So, I'm really liking this dynamic so far. I like where they're going with this, and again, it's a hell of a lot more interesting than whatever the fuck was going on with Oliver and Tiana last year. I could not give a shit about what was going on there. But at the lair, Lance comes and tells Thea that he has a location on Church, and I really did love this scene. I can't really remember a time when Lance and Thea were together, just the two of them, where they had a scene, you know, interaction, things like that. But now that the cast is relatively much smaller, you know, we don't have Laurel, we don't have Sarah, Lance needs some female to interact with, and Thea, I think, is the perfect person for him to do that with. They've gone through very similar circumstances. Thea's had a number of great losses. You know, she kind of had an identity crisis last year, and Lance in general is just kind of a wreck. And he tells Thea he has a location on Church. He's using the city traffic cameras to give Green Arrow a way to find him, and I like that they're not really part of Team Arrow, but they're still kind of helping him. So he tells Thea to get out there and fight. She says she can. She finally feels, and that the reason she doesn't is because she finally feels normal, and she's scared of losing real life like Laurel did, because Laurel thought that, you know, she kind of lost that real life. You know, she felt like she could do anything. She felt like her as the Black Canary, it was her agenda to go out and, you know, remember, she wanted to confront Dark on her own, if you remember in that. And she's worried that the same thing's going to happen to her. And I thought this was a very strong scene. Willa Holland really did a great job here, and I really did love her performance here, because yeah, I mean, now that she doesn't have Malcolm on her tail constantly telling her you have to be this way and you have to do this, she wants to be her own person, and I really like seeing that. Lance tells her that he understands the need to hit pause on life, but that he can't. They just need to get on with it, and they need to move forward, and again, that's really the theme with this season, is moving forward and forgetting about all the shit that happened last season. Not forgetting about it, but moving on from it. Obviously, yes, it happened, but they have to move on, and that's something that Thea, we don't really know if she wants to do, and I thought it was a very strong scene. I like the way that those two really are trying to move on. Lance is in a position where I don't really know if he's moving on the best way, but he's definitely trying to, and I like seeing that. So in the back room of the power plant, where Church and the hostages revealed to be members of the city council, we find out are the dirty cop starts being on Oliver, tells the man that if you hit me again, I'll kill you. The cop tells him that he's delusional, but Oliver has dislocated his thumbs, broken free of the chair. He kills the man, telling him nobody can know his secrets, and he and Speedy, yes, she's in the Speedy costume right now, she's just arrived, and they make their escape. Oliver explains that they can't save the hostages without setting off some failsafes that would kill all the hostages, and obviously, Thea gets kind of upset. Oliver and Thea argue about whether or not lethal force is justified in their line of work. Oliver says he's done holding back because if he, and I like what he says, he feels that if he had killed Dark early on, he would have saved Laurel. And what this is doing is showing that this isn't just coming out of left field, that Oliver is thinking back on maybe I should have killed him earlier. And honestly, I called it. I said that Dark is going to be the person that Oliver is going to have to kill. I thought he was going to kill Dark after what happened to Felicity, but he didn't. And he's very regretful of that. And he really feels that he can't do this no-kill attitude anymore. He needs to do something different. He needs a new method. And he tells Thea that Malcolm was right. Either Oliver has to be willing to do whatever is necessary, or he shouldn't be out there. And what doing was necessary sometimes means you have to do some things that are unjust, but in this sense aren't unjust. And Thea says that's why she can't do it ever again. She just can't risk it. She knows that she feels she's going to go rogue. She feels she's going to be out of control, and she just feels she can't really handle it anymore. I thought it was a very well done scene, though. I think they really did show how different things were between Oliver and Felicity, and I mean Oliver and Thea, and how different a paths these two really are. I mean, we definitely do see that, and I really enjoyed that. It really does show, you know, that Oliver, again, he's gone this direction for a reason, and I thought they did a very good job with that. So Felicity once again tries to sell Oliver on the idea of a new Team Arrow. She tells him that they're already out there on the streets, with or without his blessing, but he is reluctant to train them. And I will say I did think some of these scenes were a bit too repetitive, but Felicity tells her to remember the promise he made to Laurel on her deathbed, but Oliver still isn't hearing what she has to say. And we do eventually find out what she said. We'll get into that, but we then see, I thought it was interesting to see, we do in fact, hear, because we never heard what Laurel's promise was, but back in Russia, Anatoly warns Oliver that Kovar has an army behind him, but tells him that if Oliver wants to listen to him, he can get him close to the men. He tells Oliver that the shark does not swim, it drowns, and that Oliver needs to forget the promise he made in the past and move on. Just like how he needs to forget the promise he made to Laurel and move on from that. That is a brilliant connection, honestly. I love that connection, because again, it was completely gone from last season. There was no connection to what was going on. There wasn't really a rhyme or reason as to what was going on. So Oliver asked him if he's going to help or not. Kanavzi, sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but he says yes, and I thought that was a very well done scene. So Curtis, walking around a bad part of town, calls Felicity about Wild Dog before being jumped and mugged. And just seeing Curtis be mugged, I mean, really to show that this season is no joking matter, that there are going to be stakes this season. And back at the Black Canary statue on the waterfront, Oliver calls Diggle and gets a voicemail. So Lance joins Oliver, who recites the proverb about the shark back to Lance. The pair agree to move forward together, and Lance gives him a dossier of a small handful of officers to help Oliver, Assasser, and as Green Arrow move forward. And Oliver agrees instantly, saying it's what Laurel would have wanted. And then we finally get to see what Laurel promised Oliver. And I know some people were let down by what she promised him, but I thought this genuinely did make sense. We see she requests, finally, we thought this was going to be some big secret, like maybe she knew about Dark or something big to run there, but and it turns out actually that her last request is that she should not be the last Black Canary. She says that way a part of her will always be out there with Oliver. Now, let me explain this. She's not literally saying, oh, I want someone else to be the Black Canary. What she's saying is, I don't want you to be the last member of your team. I want you to add more people. I want you to add more members because that is what I want you to do. She wants him to continue doing what he's doing. She wants him to have a team, and she feels that by having a team, it'll be like a part of her is with him. I mean, one of the things that Laurel and Oliver, especially towards the end, got done so well is that those two had very similar agendas, and that Laurel was one of the only people that really understood why he was vigilante. I mean, even in the last season, Felicity really did not understand why he was still vigilante and why he was doing what he was doing, but she did understand, and I thought that was a really well done scene. I like seeing finally what Laurel's promise was. I think it was a long time coming, and I think it really did pay off in the end. So, at the power plant, we see Church as the hostages. Lance sends some cops to infiltrate the building, while Oliver and Felicity banter about whether or not they're a team. And Church is playing Duck Duck Goose with a councilman, is about to attack one with a baseball bat. Kind of a cheesy scene, but Green Arrow and the cops invade. The cops focus on the hostages. Oliver takes on Church. One of the cops notes that the building is in danger of exploding, but Oliver isn't willing to leave without taking Church into custody. The police get the council to safety. Oliver makes his way through the exploding power plant, shooting a grappling arrow onto Church's escaping helicopter. The two fight inside of it, really getting a Season 2 vibe here. I really like the way this was done. Church gets away while Oliver uses another trick arrow to parachute away, and nothing felt impractical about this. Honestly, everything felt practical. Everything did make sense, and there wasn't any sort of outworldly, element to this that just kind of felt like it was out of place. The magic and the arrow don't really mesh together, but this works. I like the way this is going, and I thought this actually was a pretty cool fight. And I like that Church did get away, because I don't want to be brought into custody yet. So, the next morning, Oliver introduces the anti-crime initiative that the police brass have been pushing, forming an anti-crime unit of Lance's recommended officers who will answer directly to the mayor's office, that he needs this anti-crime unit. Obviously, he has people after him, and I like the way that Lance is indirectly helping him without actually being a part of Team Arrow. I think that's honestly really interesting. So, Church, meanwhile, has brought together the heads of the local gangs, including the Bertinelli family. Church is Bertinelli assassinated by one of his own men when he challenges Church's authority, and at the lair, Felicity, and that was a very interesting scene the way it was done. The fact that he challenged Church's authority. Church clearly works on his own terms, you definitely see that. So at the lair, Felicity once again pushes Oliver on the new team, and he relents, bringing the files on. Wild Dog up on screen. Curtis, bruised and bloodied, shows up to demand he joins Team Arrow too. I don't know how he's going to join, but I guess he has some sort of, he's going to be some sort sort of vigilante. I don't know what capacity, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that, because that's going to be interesting. So in Russia, Anatoly tells Oliver that the only hope he has to kill Kovar is join the Bratva. He says the initiation might kill him if he's not careful, puts him in the center of a room full of goons, telling that if he survives, he can begin the process of becoming Bratva. The men jump Oliver, and again, I really like where this is headed. This seems like it's very focused. They seem like they actually know what they want to do with this, and again, I am all on board with the flashbacks for this season. So then we get to the end of the episode, which I thought was really well done. We see Oliver and Diggle are talking via Skype, and I like this. I like that we did get to see Diggle in this episode, but there's no outlandish or convenient reason why Diggle should be brought back to Team Arrow. I mean, last year's premiere was good. It was very convenient looking back, and this one really wasn't. They're talking via Skype. Oliver asks Diggle whether he thinks that they should put together a new team. Diggle says yes, and Oliver's a little disappointed that Diggle isn't clinging to the past like he was, and Diggle asks what the statue is of Oliver's relationship with Felicity, and of course, you know, there isn't really one right now, and I thought overall it was a very interesting scene, telling Diggle, you know, telling him to move forward, and you can tell that Diggle really isn't dwelling on the past because he's really moved on. I did like seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this side of Diggle as the season goes on, but then we get this really random scene with Felicity. She's at home on the couch. She's getting a back rub from a man who is decidedly not Oliver. This was a little bit dumb. Oh my god, Felicity's with another man. I don't know why they made this such a shocking thing. I mean, obviously, she's not with Oliver. She's an attractive girl. She's gonna be with some other guy, and I don't know if this is going to be a Ray Palmer situation. I hope to God it's not, because I actually really like that relationship, and I hope that it doesn't go in that direction. But I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know who the hell he is. We haven't gotten a name or anything, but I don't know why they made this such a big deal. It's not really a big deal. This part was a little bit weird, but other than that, I mean, that's really one of my only very minor nitpicks with the episode. But then we get to the ending. We see outside the police department, one of the cops from the anti-crime unit is heading home. He's attacked by a man in a black hood. He uses a bow and numerous blades, and the man just straight up kills him, says he is not the Green Arrow. We don't know who he is, but he's like a Black Arrow and everything. I don't know exactly who he is, but that is the way the episode ends. Really good stuff overall. Let's get in this episode so I can talk about what I really liked and where I think the season is headed overall. So right off the bat, I was very impressed with this premiere because, yes, this is a soft reboot of sorts, and yes, you could say that last season was. This season didn't have the convenient reasoning behind why, here's why Oliver should join the team, or here's why Diggle's going to come back, here's how Thea's going to come back. This season's not doing that. This season is getting them to move on from what happened and basically start anew, and I think it's very interesting to see. You know, Oliver's now gone back to killing, Thea is kind of operating on her own terms, and Lance is doing everything he can to help Oliver because he feels like he should. And I mean, Oliver doesn't really have anyone. I thought that was really well done overall, and I really do like where his season is headed. Who is this guy, though, that is out there? If we have another, this Black Hood, I don't really know how I feel about his character yet, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I hope to God this is not one of those let's frame the Green Arrow things, because that got really dumb. We did this for 2 seasons now, and I really hope they don't do it again this season, but we'll have to see overall what's going on. I think that's going to be very interesting. Felicity's new boyfriend, I really don't care. I'm happy that she got a boyfriend, obviously, but I don't know why the show made such a big deal. I think it's kind of dumb the way they did that. I really do like that Oliver is creating this new team. Who's this new team going to be? Are they going to be as functionable? I mean, this is a team that isn't as experienced, and they haven't worked with Oliver before, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to be on this new team, and I like that he is, in fact, creating a new one, because, honestly, while I do like the characters we had, they've moved on, and they have evolved, and again, they might not want to be on Team Arrow, so seeing these new characters, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do with that. Maybe even bring Roy back, possibly. I'm hearing there's a possibility that Roy might come back, but we'll have to see the way that turns out. And then Curtis, what role is Curtis really going to play? Because I don't really know how he's going to join the team, but he wants to join the team, so we'll have to see the way that goes, because I really don't know how Curtis is going to join the team, and if there's even room for him, really, but we'll have to see. As far as this anti-crime unit, I'm looking forward to seeing the way that's all going to turn out. I mean, one person was already killed, so I don't think it's that strong, but we'll have to see. I really do like this character of Church, though. This is a very badass villain who seems very methodical and very much is someone who, you know, he gets what he wants done. And the way he stands out from Dark is almost immediate. He doesn't seem indestructible. You know, he doesn't seem like someone who is just so powerful and just can't be destroyed and things like that. that. That was a problem with Dark. As good as Neil McDonough was as that character was a bit cartoony. I will definitely say that. And a bit cartoony for Arrow. This character is a lot more stripped down, and I really do like where they're headed with Church overall. Looking forward to seeing where he is. And how does the Black Hood connect to Church? I don't know if he does, but I think definitely we'll have to see where that's going, because I think that's interesting. I liked Oliver's reasoning for killing. You know, he feels that because of what happened with Laurel, that he feels he needs to kill because he's no longer holding back. He's now killed Dark, and he feels like killing is the right way to go. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going to go. And the way that his ideals are clashing with Thea and with Felicity, I'm looking forward to seeing overall. And then the flashbacks. Like I said, I really think they've done a very astute job of making the flashbacks connect to this season, because Oliver has a reasoning for, getting over Tiana's death in the flashbacks, and he's moving on from Laurel's death in the present. And I thought that's a very good way to connect those two things. And the fact that they're both about, letting go of a promise he made, of him letting go of the promise he made to Laurel and letting go of the promise he made to Tiana, I think is really well done, and really to show the way the show does want to move forward. And my only real problem with this premiere, I have to say, is I do think they talked about this team way too much throughout the episode. There was definitely a little bit too much exposition. And then some of the bigger reveals, like Felicity's boyfriend, I didn't really think was that big of a deal. I don't know why they made such a big deal. But other than that, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Love your thoughts. And I'm definitely on board for what they're doing this season. I like that they're going in a more darker direction. And I like that they're keeping it simple. They're not getting too overly complicated. They're definitely trying to keep it as simple as possible. And I really do like that. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video. Also, it doesn't appear the Flashpoint has really altered Arrow all that much, but I'm sure it will later. We'll just have to see what happens with that. But we'll see you guys in my next one, which will be for tonight's episode of American Horror Story Roanoke, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.